I've been playing video games for a long time, and in that time, I've played my fair share of platformers. Yes, I know we're going on an old man story, just stick with me here, I promise we'll get to the point. Around the time platformers made the shift into 3D, I stepped away from them. It turns out when you add an extra dimension to a platformer, my skill levels just fall off of a cliff. And so, I left those games behind to try other games. From time to time, I would check in on the genre every now and then to see if it's gotten any better, and for the most part, unfortunately not. Finally, after saving enough money for literal years to upgrade my PC, I ended up with a little extra money left over and decided now is a great time to get myself a PlayStation 5. I got it set up, got all the things ready to go, and I saw a game that was included called Astro's Playroom. It was essentially there to showcase the features of the PS5 and get you a little bit more familiar with how the system works. What I ended up getting, however, was a beautiful love letter to Sony. Traveling across its 30-year lifespan through all the consoles, the handhelds, and the peripherals. And not only that, nostalgia bomb, but I got something else out of it. A really fun platformer. You work your way through the various areas of the PS5, such as the memory, the GPU, the cooling system, to collect hidden things such as coins, puzzle pieces, etc., and you get to the end of the stage. This was a great way to introduce people to the intricacies of the PS5 while showering them with nostalgia. I really had to hand it to Sony here. For a free game, it was fantastic. So, with the massive success of Astro's Playroom, it was no question we'd eventually see Astro in its own titled game. But it was just a matter of when. And on June 7, 2024, there was an update to Astro's Playroom that added a bunch of new things and a mysterious mission room in the basement which displayed a countdown. At the end of that countdown, the door unlocked and the game was released. And by the way, before we even get into any of the specifics, it is no wonder that Astro Bot won Game of the Year. It is unique, it is a breath of fresh air for gaming, it's full of life, and it's easy for anybody to pick up and play. This was a phenomenal game through and through, and it's gotten me to love platformers again. If that's all you needed to hear, that's the end of the video. But there's plenty to come. Stick with me. Let's start at the beginning. Okay, so Astro's Playroom was essentially a tech demo, right? It showed off all the new things of the PS5, and it was so good. When you get to the end, you're left going, wait a second, I want more of this game. How do I get the whole thing? And this was officially the first game that I ever got a platinum trophy for, and I've been playing PlayStation games since the trophy system was released in the PS3. I enjoyed it so thoroughly that I ran through this game multiple times. So it was a no-brainer for me as one of the main first games for my console to pick up Astro Bot. And due to the success and the skill of Team Asobi and a bit of luck from Sony giving them a shot, here it is, a game for the PS5 that's essentially being touted as Sony's answer to Mario, which should be one of the highest compliments for a platformer. You're sharing the stage with the name that objectively created the standard for platformers to begin with. Okay, so why are we putting this on the same page? Simple. The control scheme is perfect. Very simple stuff. You can move, you can hit stuff, you can spin in a circle, punching stuff. You can jump and hold to have the boosters give you a little bit of hang time, and then you can use the trigger buttons to use an ability if you have one. And that's it. There's no complicated controls here. It is very basic. It's incredibly easy to pick up and go. And with the controls being so simple, Astro actually does what you want it to. I found so few times where I was getting frustrated because I jumped the wrong way, or I jumped too far or too short or missed a platform. It's almost as if everything just clicked the way that it needed to. The game feels like you've played it before. It's almost second nature to how quick you adapt to a level's mechanics. It's like you just understand, you just get it and go forward. And best of all, if you die in a level, and it's gonna happen a lot, you're gonna die quite regularly, it's almost always like you go, yep, that was my fault. I needed to jump and hold there, not just jump. There's always an explainable reason. It never felt at all like the game was rigging it against me. Was it hard? Absolutely. There's many levels where it is very difficult to get from point A to point B. And it's challenging, and it's going to push you to the brink of your platforming skills. Not one time did it ever feel frustrating. It only actually felt challenging. And it was such a breath of fresh air. I think that's what really makes up the secret sauce of a good 3D platformer. All of these things combined. With the Sony nostalgia sprinkled on top throughout the entire game, it just kind of clicks together and combines into what I would consider my own personal best game of 2024, hands down. Okay, so the game's got good controls, it's fun to play, What else does it have? How about the levels themselves? These are some expertly created, fantastic levels from beginning to end. It's almost like Team Asobi cracked the hidden code at how to win at platformers. They looked over and saw what Mario was doing, and they did it better. The levels are linear, but they seem to flow naturally. There's lots of space in them for you to explore. There's plenty of areas where things are hidden. You collect coins, puzzle pieces, you find your hidden bot pals in a wide variety of different places and situations. And many of the levels have these extra abilities or power-ups that they provide you in the form of some kind of animal hanging off your back, essentially. They range from the frog that gives you the punching arms to an octopus that blows you up and then lets you fart out the air to fly around like a balloon. Yes, that's a real thing. And the absolute beauty of this is it just complements the existing game mechanics. So you don't even have to think about anything when you receive this ability. You get it, you hit the trigger a couple times, go, oh, I understand how this works, and boom, you're back into the level again. And everything just meshes. You just understand how you have to use that ability in the levels in order to progress through the stage. One of my favorite parts about these abilities is that you're given the ability for a certain stage, and then at the end of the stage, that ability is gone. So you don't have to worry about carrying these things forward to different stages or switching between them. You're given the rocket boost ability for the rocket boost stage, and then when you get to the punching stage, you use the punching ability because that's the one that it grants you. It's just like everything meshes together and makes for a much more smooth experience. And I know what you might be thinking, wouldn't it be nice if you could switch between them because based on the level you could complete it different ways? And sure, I mean, I guess that would be okay, but I would argue that by keeping this locked to the levels in question, it helps hammer home that playstyle of getting the ability and just understanding how it fits into the completion of the level. It keeps that simplicity at top of mind, but then it adds almost another flavor to it to create this perfectly balanced situation. And it's funny because when I think back to older 3D platformers from the 90s into the 2000s, they all seem to have the same fatal flaws or a combination of them. Clunky controls, power scaling, confusion of where to go, bad level design, frustrating and unfun gameplay. And when you look at Astro Bot, none of that is present at all. There is no downtimes. There wasn't a single time where I was like, okay, I don't want to play this anymore. It was always like one more level, one more stage, one more thing. Oh, I forgot the puzzle piece in that one level. I got to go back and go and get that one. It was just one more run every single time. And it just helped push forward in replayability. You can ask anyone who's known me and knows how I play video games, and they'll all tell you the same thing. DG doesn't like playing scavenger hunts in video games. I would rather forget that all of those pigeons ever existed in Spider-Man than collect them all. It's not worth my time to scour the city looking for one little pigeon hidden off in the corner, no matter what the prize is. But Astro Bot is different. I actually found myself replaying that stage multiple times just to go back and make sure I got every single collectible from every single level. And it was a riot while I was doing it because the levels are fun. They encourage you to run through it multiple times to get what you missed. And if by any reason you can't find the things that are in there, the game gives you the ability to pay 200 coins at the front of the stage to have a little bird come and give you a little radar symbol to let you know where a hidden item might be nearby. So you never have to stress about going to find these things. It puts fun at the front of mind for the entire course of the game. The music is absolutely unbelievable. Every single track is an absolute jam, and I often find myself humming the songs when I'm not playing the game. If my kids so much as hear a couple stray notes from the speaker when I fire that game up, they're immediately sitting beside me, also ready to experience the game. It's almost like a siren song to good gameplay. All right, so now I've got to talk about the controller a little bit. The controller is prominently featured in the game. Right from the start, you've got Astro flying between planets on its trusty controller, just you and the controller, exploring the galaxy together. And in all seriousness, the level of immersion using the PS5 DualSense controller is absolutely insane. The sound engineering that exists within the game, having sounds come out of the speakers and the controller to add this kind of 3D effect that exists, it's just perfect. There are times when you find bots in the stage, and when you do find them, they jump into the controller. You can hit start on the controller and at any point take a look at those bots, and you can always check in on them to make sure that they're doing okay and see how many you've found. how many you've got left to go. Motion controls do exist in the game, mostly in the sense of when you're navigating your ship as you're entering a level. And they did it right here as well, because I'm not a huge motion control kind of guy, but they use it so sparingly and pointedly that even then I'm like, this is exactly how this should be. It feels just like it fits. But above all, my favorite part with the controller is that the haptic feedback is just so great in here. And normally I scoff at gimmicks like this. It's just not my thing. I'm not interested in kind of these added bells and whistles. Who needs the haptic feedback stuff? I'm just trying to play a game, not be immersed in something. Boy, oh boy, am I wrong here. It's implemented so well that you literally feel like you're actually doing the things that you're doing in the game. Using the froggy punches, you get a little bit of resistance and then a release like a spring, or using the gotcha machine and crushing one of the capsules and feeling it build in pressure and then release as you crush through the capsule. It's just like, it's completely unnecessary, but once you play it and you experience it, you're just kind of wondering how you would have ever done without it. It fires up those neural receptors and gives you that sweet hit of dopamine. It's great. The game is just so beautiful. Like, it's top tier beautiful. It's got that cartoony vibe, but it's gorgeous. The environments are plenty. You've got night, day, beach, forest, lava, caves. Like, there's just a wide variety of all kinds of different areas to keep things fresh. There's different materials, there's fun stuff thrown in there, and don't get me started on the many different assets put in there: leaves, sprinkles, snow, rain, metal, glass. At no point did I ever experience a frame drop or any kind of visual hiccup with this game. No matter what the game threw at it, the game stayed buttery smooth and it kept going the whole way through. It was a fantastic experience from beginning to end. Finally, you have the Sony nostalgia. I'll be the first one to admit that after the PS1, I pretty much dropped off the PlayStation train until the PS4 showed up. But there's just so much love thrown into this game to honor and respect Sony's long history of gaming. The heaviest of this being the various bots that you find throughout the levels. And over half of these bots that are in costume from various games throughout the lifespan of PlayStation, and some games that aren't even specifically exclusive to the PlayStation. They won't be called the Jumping Flash bot, but it's a huge polygonal rabbit that jumps far across the map named Leaping Lapin. It's not called Parappa the Rapper bot, but it's Lovestruck Lyricist. You get me? There's hundreds of them. It's like being on an inside joke every single time that you find one.
Whoa, here I come. Oh.
I haven't played all of the games. There's plenty of these bots where I got one and I went, wait a second, what game is that one referencing? And then I went online, looked it up and went, hey, that game looks cool. And boom, now I'm looking back in the back catalog and finding new games to play again that I had missed from the previous generations. Every single time that I found one of these bots or had an experience with one, I was smiling like an idiot because it just hits all of those nostalgia points in the right spot, and you're just left with what literally feels like a love letter to the history of gaming for Sony. Above all of that, the piece de resistance. Each planet has its own IP-focused level. You can hang out with the crew from Ape Escape, from God of War, from Horizon. My favorite one, that has to be the level called Dude Rating, aka the Uncharted level. And these levels just hit you with waves of nostalgia and makes you wish that they would release games like this, kind of like the Lego games. Can you imagine playing an Astro Bot version of Last of Us, for example, or a Final Fantasy game? Like, it's just unbelievable amounts of fun. I can't say enough good things about it. And truthfully, I can't think of bad things to say about this game either. Typically, I don't like 3D platformers. I would have never expected to enjoy this game, but this one makes an exception. If more games were like this, if more platforming games were like this, I would 100% play them. The literal only downside that I can even come up with is that I wish the game was longer. I want more experiences with the game. I think my total playtime was just short of 20 hours, and that would mark the second time that I ever got a platinum trophy in a game before. There's 3 save points in the game. I've got one of them 100%ed, and I'm looking at those other 2 thinking, I guess I've got more game to go. If you have a PS5 and you haven't picked this one up yet, take it from me. This one is a must-own for your system. This has to be one of the first times in years that I got a game and I literally couldn't put it down. It is peak gaming from beginning to end, 100% of the way through. And if this is what we can come to expect from Team Asobi going forward, then you just made a fan of me for life. This one is hands down my favorite game for 2024, and I can't wait to see what they come up with next. It is no wonder why they won Game of the Year. This is Game of the Year, 100%. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to stay in touch with me, you can click that little subscribe button below. It helps me out and it'll let you know when I put out new stuff. And if you'd like to stay in touch, you can find me live on stream here every Sunday, Monday, and Friday, or you can find us in the Discord. Now I'll put all those links into the description below. Now get out there and go find those bots, friends. Love and appreciate each and every one of you, and have a great one. We'll see you next time.